Got it. All right. We're letting everybody in. I love this. I think we had about 140 people register for this webinar, which means we'll have, I'm going to say 35, 40 people show up, which is kind of exciting, probably more like 35. And then we have another 35 that watch the webinar, and then another about 60 that usually listen to the podcast. So it's wonderful to have you guys on. I want you to move your mouse, go to the bottom of your screen. You're going to see the green screen, the share button, and go to the left of that. You'll see the chat box. If you click on the chat box, please type in your name, type in where you're from. We'd love to see that because we've got people from all over. We have 3 fantastic women with us tonight. We're going to be talking about recovery, the importance of recovery. Oh, look at all these people from New Jersey, Alabama, Florida, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Charlotte, North Carolina, and New York City. Okay, so what we're going to talk about with recovery is the critical role that recovery plays in optimizing athletic performance and preventing injuries. And athletic performance could be everything from, the New York Jets, like Gail trains, and for me, my pickleball friends. So it's whatever level of athlete you think you are. From elite athletes to weekend warriors, proper recovery is essential for reducing muscle soreness, improving flexibility, and preventing burnout. And this webinar, we're going to discuss practical recovery strategies. We're going to talk about foam rolling. We're going to talk about stretching and active recovery, moving through your recovery. And we might even talk about heat and cold and things like that. And all of it is focused on enhancing performance and the way you feel. So recovery is very important. We have Dr. Julie Zulegger with us. She's a PhD in education. She's the director of kinesiology and education at Tiger Tail. She's absolutely brilliant. She's been 20 years as a licensed massage therapist, a certified strength and conditioning specialist, corrective exercise specialist, 500-hour yoga instructor, human movement specialist. Oh my gosh, it's just like, it's too bad she has no education. And she says, I said, can I call you Dr. Julie? She's like, just call me Julie. So she's pretty cool as well. And she works with Tiger Tail that supports all the educational conferences. So we're very excited to have her on. And we've got Andrea Metcalf, that Andrea and I, we've known each other for, oh my gosh, years. I think one of the last times we saw each other was on QVC or something like that, a gazillion years ago. She's the owner of it's not a new studio, but it's a new location in Lincoln Park, which is out in Chicago. It's Heat 3.0. It's a Pilates studio. She's been in this industry 4 decades. She's got a best-selling book. Carter said, Carter's running our webinar tonight, he said he would put a link to it in the chat. She's done over 500 television appearances, including NBC Today, GMA, NBC Chicago, Oprah.com, blah, blah, blah. Amazing, amazing woman. And we've got Gail Bannister-Munn, who I absolutely adore. Gail, do you remember the first phone call we had?
Yes.
Yeah. She was like, yeah, you scared the crap out of me. I'll be honest with you. I fell in love with her. She's amazing. She's the flexibility specialist and core yoga and Pilates coach with the New York Jets football team. She also trains and consults with professional athletes for the NBA, which is basketball, and baseball. We've got NFL, NHL, MLB. That's baseball. The other one was back. All the athletes. She's amazing. She's the owner of the Bannister Method in Long Island, which is in West Babylon, New York. She's the well, she is reasonable, but she's the regional Group X manager of Crunch Fitness out of Queens, Bronx, and Brooklyn in New York. She's just fantastic. You'll be able to see all these ladies at Mania conferences. Gail's been on a lot of our panels, and especially the ones where we deal with strength and stretching. So we're just going to launch right in. I always forget to introduce myself. I'm Sarah Cooperman. I'm the S of SCW. And I'm lucky enough to love what I do. And we have Carter. Carter Anderson is wonderful. He puts together our webinars. He's actually on our creative and operations team at SCW. You see him at our conferences. Amazing guy. So I'm going to start with you, Julie. How can foam rolling and other massage techniques be used to enhance recovery?
What I'm finding working with my clients, both some professional athletes, collegiate athletes, down to the weekend warriors, it's very individual, but there's a lot of commonalities. And a lot of people do not take time to stretch. They don't take time for self-care. So providing them easy techniques that they can use beforehand to warm up, that they can use between workouts. If you go to the gym, you see a lot of people, they'll do an exercise like an overhead press, and then all of a sudden, they're stretching for 10 seconds. We know that, a static stretch for 10 seconds is not as beneficial. If we can incorporate, some dynamic stretching, or if we can incorporate foam rolling with something like a tiger tail. It is a handheld foam roller where they don't have to get down on the ground each time. They can quickly use the foam roller to warm up, to basically inhibit the nervous system and then lengthen those muscles. I could get into a whole scientific thing about length tension optimization, but we'll save that for the Mania convention. So, just showing individuals what to do. It's important to empower, your individuals, whether the weekend warriors, whether they're the collegiate athletes, to show them what they can do to increase their strength, but make sure that they incorporate the self-care, because that's important and always neglected.
What I liked about the tiger tail, and I think we talked about this before we turned the camera on, is when I lay down on a foam roller, I've got my body weight, and then I got to leverage like my elbow or my knee or my foot on the ground so that I'm not using my entire body weight on that body part, because my kids made me do foam rolling. They're like, Mom, come on, come on, come on. Well, I got one kid, Gail, I don't think you know this, but Max, the hockey player, he's playing pro. He got recruited by a team in France. Right now he's playing in Australia for the summer. It's fun. Like, oh, what a bad life. But then he's going to go over and play in France. But anyway, they got me lying down. I woke up the next day, I was bruised. But if I do a tiger tail, if you brought it, I like roll it, and I feel like it's my own pressure. Like, what can I handle? Gail, you had mentioned something about that they actually did away with some of the foam rolling. Like you work with the New York Jets.
Right. So when the foam rolling came out, these guys were using PVC pipes. Remember the PVC pipes? Those things were so Julie just made a face. And then they put these nodules on them. Remember that? It was these things that was like, oh, get in there deeper. Well, we've gotten rid of that because it actually tears the tissue. And like Julie said, the tiger equipment that it is, you can apply it at your own intensity, your own comfort level. And the new foam rollers we use are the ones that you can actually squeeze. If you can squeeze it, it's a good foam roller because it's not going to tear the fascia that we're trying to keep her hydrated for the muscles. So if it's too hard, I mean, most guys will be like, oh, it feels great, it's hard, but it can actually tear the tissue, especially if they're dehydrated. So hydration and foam rolling and hydration and stretching's got to go hand in hand. Otherwise, you can really hurt yourself doing that,
Yeah. At SCW, we got one of those foam rollers that's, it's not the 6-inch, it's a 3-inch, and it's really soft and it feels better for me. And Gail, you mentioned hydration. Like you were mentioning IVs. I almost, my jaw just dropped.
Yeah. So a couple of years ago, there used to be these IV trucks that showed up in New York City that people have these weddings and parties, and people would pay for these trucks like $20,000, and you just get on the bus and they IV'd you, so you won't have a hangover the next morning. I'm like, what is that? So here we go, walked in the jets, and there's 4 nurses, there were 20 chairs, and they hydrate the guy. So during the summertime, when they're hydrating, running around, they get hydrated right away. It's a quick fix and it works. They put anything in there, vitamin C, vitamin D, B complex. It's a shot. And that started when COVID came in. They started coming in hard and fast with that for COVID, because with COVID, we had to get IVs and to make our immune system a little bit higher. So they say, why not use it? Because some of the guys started leaving. So they do it in the summertime. It helps. It's a quick hike. I do it. I'm like, hey, it's free. I'm jumping in the chair. I do it.
And
works.
nobody will know you did it because of the tattoos, right?
Exactly. I'm like, just put it right there. Nobody will find it. But
Love
it's
it.
new thing. I have a lot of labs now, restore labs that do offer it. I mean, I know in New York where we have it
Yeah.
everywhere. I'm not sure what other states. I think Florida also has it a lot, but I know it's coming out. I mean, but they have to have a licensed doctor on staff and a licensed nurse on staff. I do know that's mandated.
But with the traveling trucks, they've actually
the
brought
trucks
them into
and
health
on
clubs
site.
at particular
Yeah.
times, and people
And
actually.
yeah, massage places have them, so they have to have a licensed nurse on staff. They do that. I give them that. They do have a licensed nurse on staff, and they do it for part-time. They leave their shifts and they go do it. So
That's amazing.
thing,
It's
new way.
amazing. Now, Andrea, how can foam rolling and other self-massage techniques be used to enhance recovery? Do you do this with your students at the club?
Yeah, I mean, we do foam rolling, and we also have a massage stick that people like to use as well. I'd have to say, you know, in the decades of all of us teaching and being in the fitness world, stretch is always this much of the class, and stretch is now kind of associated with the recovery, because we know that when we go through dynamic stretch, not the old grandmother touch your toe and hold it for 30 seconds. Even though I am a grandmother, I wouldn't do that. But we're teaching people how to do more active recovery stretches. And I think that's the important takeaway with all of this, is it's not just about encouraging your people to use the foam roller or to use the stick, but to get them in the habit that the last part of their workout isn't just 2 minutes of a static stretch. It's throughout. I know that, I think it was Julie was saying, or is it Jessica? Joanne, who's my tiger tail lady doctor?
Julie.
Dr.
Okay.
Julie.
So Julie was saying that they're using foam rolling in between the workouts. So when they're doing high intensity training, they're doing some of that dynamic stretch right after the lunge series or right after the burpees, which I hate, jumping jack series. And I think that's really smart. We do a little bit of HIIT training on the Pilates machine. Pilates inherently is a lengthening range of motion, dynamic stretch against tension. So we get a lot of that. But to your point, we do have stretch classes and we use the foam roller still. I do like the massage sticks better for the biggest reason that you said, that for some people, they can't even sit on the foam roller. And we don't have really hard ones. Ours are, you know, they're a little bit more of the softer ones that give you a little more give. And I don't know, those people who use those knobby, no rolled ones that we were talking about a few minutes ago, I've never used those, never liked them, never thought that they'd be good for you, because I would be bruised using them too, Sarah.
Yeah, it's a little scary when you do that. But I do remember, again, 4 decades ago, 3 decades ago, when we used to teach a class and we knew the last 10 minutes or the last 5 minutes was going to be flexibility, and people sneak out
All the time.
and it's just, I don't see them doing that as much anymore. Are there effective stretches? I'm going to shoot over to you, Gail. Are there effective stretches people can do after they've done, let's say, a combination cardio and strength class? Are there particular muscles that you highly recommend that they stretch that'll enhance the recovery? You're muted.
That's a little complicated. I mean, when I teach a class, I know the muscle groups I'm doing. So let's say it's a leg day and I did rotations. I'm going to be doing a transverse plane rotation stretches. I'm going to be doing lower back stretches, child's pose. I'm going to designate my stretches for the workout I do. Now, people may not know how to do that. So my go-to stretch for anybody on screen would be child's pose, upper dog, downward dog, get the calf stretches in there. Calves are huge, guys. It's coming out really that you have to do calves. It's just mandatory now to do calf stretches. So if you had to pick 4, it would be child's pose, upper dog, downward dog at the calves in there. Probably a lower lunge with a hip flexor stretch in there, and then trans back into child's pose. Those would be my top 4 if you wanted to do something. But don't try to make it flow. Try to just do one pose at a time for a good 60 seconds and let them enjoy it. If you have to go in and out of it like 3 or 4 times, then move to the next stretch. At least take a good 3.5 minutes to do those 4 stretches so they enjoy the movement. I think we get caught up in choreography and the beat of the music, but that's the time to really take a step back and go, oh, that feels so good. I don't want to get out of that pose, because they'll find it. But that's what I recommend. At least 3 to 4 minutes of pick something simple, stick with it, and make it your staple. Pretty much it. But
And
transverse, definitely rotations. You
And
know,
Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
no,
interrupt.
go ahead. I was going to say, make sure you do transverse. That's pretty much it.
Well, and you do a lot of hands-on,
Right,
and you mentioned the value of hydration.
right.
You know, not all of us are going to be able to get an IV, right after
Right.
our workout. So do you want us to hydrate? Well, how much do we drink before the workout? Do we drink during the workout? Do we do post-workout? What do you think of hydration things such as Gatorade or those IV little packets? And what are your thoughts on that?
The IV packets are great. You can get them in Costco. They have a really good brand. You guys have Sam's Clubs or whatever. They're really cool. But really, water, essential water is great. One of our go-to things, they'll give you guys a little secret. On the NFL team, Gatorade is the sponsor, but half of the Gatorade is filled with Pedialyte. People don't know that. So we're dunking Pedialytes into the Gatorade, mixing it up to get some hydration. People don't realize we do that because it's a quick hydration. So Pedialyte is great. If you have kids on a football field, say to them, the night before, try to drink a bottle of Pedialyte. That's better than Gatorade, funny enough. But on the field, Gatorade is fine. Water is better. But I always tell people, you got to hydrate at least 72 hours prior to what you're going to do. And if you're hydrating an hour before the workout, you're too late. You've missed your window. And then if you guzzle it, you're peeing in the bathroom 10 minutes later because it's just going right to the body. So that's not a complicated story. So if you sip your water or mouth your water, it will hydrate better. If you guzzle your water, you will pee it out because it's coming in so quickly on the intake that the fascia doesn't have a chance to grab it. It's just going to go right through the system versus mouthfuls and sipping for it to absorb better. Does that make sense?
You know what? That's fascinating because I'm a guzzler. I'm like,
Yes.
oh my God, I didn't drink today.
Right.
And then I go to the kitchen and
Right.
I'm like sucking down these huge things thinking, okay, I'm hydrated.
Right. There's a couple of analogies I use with the kids. So I always say, if your mom has a sponge and she leaves it overnight on the counter, when you wake up in the morning, what is it? They go, it's dehydrated. I said, take a bottle of water and pour it on that dry spot. Just pour it. How quickly will it absorb? They go, not that quickly. It's the same philosophy. But if you drip it, will the sponge absorb it? They go, yes. I said, there you have it.
Very
I said, the
cool.
other analogy, so you like that, right? I said, the other analogy now is the sponge is filled with water. You can't get the sponge. You have to squeeze the sponge out, which is all the inflammation, and then add fresh water to the sponge for it to clean the dishes, right? They go, yeah. I said, no, you get it? They go, I got it. Because you got to relate that to kids. They go, oh, okay, I got it. So I usually say to the parents, if you're bringing them in, I need 72 hours before prior. And of course the kids say, I hydrate. How many bottles of water you drink? And they'll tell me half of this, which is a smart water bottle. So you got to hydrate. So if you're guzzling, stop doing it.
Julie, I see you nodding. Okay, talk to us about this hydration and how it affects our flexibility.
Julie, did that work? Was that a good analogy?
That is,
I know,
in
it's
fact, I'm gonna borrow that if that's all right, Gail. Yeah, hydration is so important. I mean, studies show that if you even have a 2% decrease in hydration, it starts affecting not only your physical your strength, it affects your cognitive abilities too. So, totally agree with what Gail is saying. 72 hours, you also need to hydrate while you're working out, especially if it is hot and humid, like it is in Wisconsin. I'm in Wisconsin right now. Like it is right now, you're doing those 2-a-day practices. And then especially important to hydrate after you're working out. If you are a person who, sweats a lot. So hydration is important. There's guidelines out there, but as Gail mentioned, the fascia, if there is no, if there's no fluid in there, the fascia is going to be, very difficult to work with, as well as the muscle tissue.
Oh, the performance declines.
Right.
And your neurological responsiveness declines as well. That's
Right.
part of the whole change. Andrea, that's really interesting. I'm not quite sure if you've got can contribute to the hydration element of that, but are there some active recovery strategies that athletes or that your students use to speed up the recovery process?
Well, we actually have infrared saunas at our studio. So we encourage people to use infrared sauna and then go and take a cold shower. The change in temperature with the dilation and constriction of the blood vessels brings through more blood flow. So we encourage people cold shower, hot sauna, and back and forth. And we get a lot of participation in that. I think just one other thing to note is our urine shows a lot of how hydrated we are on a regular basis. And so if your urine is always a dark color, then you need to encourage your participants or yourself to hydrate more. Not only will it, like we said, affect performance, but hydration is concentration. It just goes hand in hand. And we get water or get hydration not only from drinking water, but we get it from our fruits and vegetables. So we also should talk about the nutritional aspects of good recovery is more fruits and vegetables, which are hydrating, which end up helping us detoxify the body. And if we can keep talking those conversations in our group classes of, get the watermelon today, get the blueberries in the morning, and talk about those aspects, I think we'd be really doing our clients a good service.
Oh, that's
And then
great.
I think
Great.
we also need to throw in there, if you're consuming caffeine, that is actually going to dehydrate you. And so if you're drinking caffeine, the sodas, the espressos, you need to replace that.
My clients don't drink soda.
Right.
Right. Just kidding.
I mean, if anybody has any small studios or private studios, I'm sure 100. I usually have a pitcher of water, room temperature, but I freeze my strawberries and my blueberries and my raspberries, and I put them in the water. So when they get a cup of water, they have the cold blueberries and the strawberries to munch on, and they love that. They actually pick those out. They try to get those out when you pour it. So that's actually great after I work on them for soft tissue. So if that helps you guys, I do that for a redry.
But that's a nice offering for your personal training clients after they work out, even having it in the gym, for after the group X classes. That's great. And those carriers, actually got one of those. They're not expensive, like on Amazon, and you just throw something in it and it becomes, oh, do you want some cucumber infused water?
Right.
What did I do this morning? I cut up a darn cucumber, threw it in, and it's infused. Yeah, baby.
Especially if you freeze them. If you just freeze them and throw them in there, it's even better.
I love that. Now, how can we balance the need for recovery with meeting the goals of a client? I always think, I go. I've only got a limited amount of time. I want to get ready for a run I'm doing July 4th. There's a run that I'm doing July 4th, or a hike that I'm doing, or I'm going to visit my grandkids. I'm either lifting them all up, for the whole weekend. But how do I integrate the two of those together? Andrea, what are your thoughts on balancing the need for recovery and achieving their goals?
Well, again, I think it's just how you approach your daily workouts, whether they're prepping for something or not, and leaving that enough time for that active stretch at the end, and for giving the conversations of the other tools, not just having them in the closet, but actually using them, whether it be the massage stick or the foam roller or the stretch strap, And just to touch on that too, we talked about a couple of the stretches that you can do at the end, you know, the up dog, the down dog, child's pose. I have both knees replaced, so child's pose doesn't work for me, but cat cow stretch is another thing that's right in that series, and rotating, starting from one end of the spine and articulating the spine, rounding up, really getting those shoulder blades apart, and then switching it back. You know, these are exercises that feel good. And don't forget just the basic stretch, coming up overhead, reaching back, like you just had a commercial on a Good Morning for Coffee. Think of those basic things that you can incorporate always in your routines, the 3 or 4. I think that's something that can really help you.
Yeah, it can really assist, obviously, with feeling better after the workout as well. I always think, well, okay, Sarah, what are you going to do? I have a dog, so I'm always walking the dog. That's one of my favorite things to do. And I'll do a little conference call or catch up with people during that time. But one day I'll do yoga. The next day I'll do strength training. The next day I'll do yoga. The day, you know, I'm wondering, is that, and again, this is a little, you know, Julie, I'm going to ask you this, is that kind of okay to do? Or should I be doing the yoga like right after I do my strength training workout? You know, is this every other day? I'm not saying I don't stretch after I do my strength work, but it's certainly not to the, you know, I love you, Gail, but it ain't happening for a full minute.
But
It's
can I
just
say
like,
something before Julia's get? I know she's going to give me a good answer. So
okay,
I was going to say on Andrea's end of it, because she has reformers. I have a reformer. Sometimes my clients think they're coming in for a reformer workout when it's actually a stretch workout on the reformer, not realizing they're doing it on the reformer to trick them. The other thing I recommend with clients, which is, I think it's your question, that they're so busy, how do they do it? I give them like 4 or 5 stretches to do in the shower while they're taking a shower. So it's not taking up their time, whether they do it at night before they go to bed or they do it in the morning before they get out the shower. So they feel they're doing something in the warm shower. That's how I encourage them to.
so you get to go into the shower with the NFL players? Just asking. Maybe it's just my own fantasy and my
Came close. Came close. I got that's a joke I can add on at the end of the thing. That came close.
Don't worry, Gail, it's being recorded. No one will know.
But yeah, I don't know, Julia, you can answer the question, but that's how I tell my clients to take to stretch. Oh, I'm so busy. Well, then stretch in the shower because it's perfect. Here's the 4 stretches in the shower. Just do them, you know, calf stretches,
Yes.
do this, you know. So they're
Yeah,
doing
exactly.
You know.
Yeah. And Sarah, I think to answer your question, it is how much time does your client have?
Right.
What are their goals? Like, you know, Gail is working with professional athletes. That's their job. Whereas, you know, if you have an hour with someone every day, you know, it's where are they in their training? And so, you know, as Gail said, give them something to do. My clients, because we know that so many clients are round shouldered like this, I always say, when you go through the doorway, put your arms up in the doorway, lean into it, hold it for 30 seconds. Do that every time you go through a doorway, hoping they do it, you know, a couple times during the day. So, you know, in a nutshell, I think it's how much time do they have? Yeah, in that case, do your 3 or 4 stretches quick, give them a quick routine, show them how to do it so they're doing it properly after a workout, and then include the active recovery because you can't work out, you can't lift weights every day. You need time in between there. So if you're on a lifting 3 or 4 days a week, you know, include that active recovery. Maybe one day it's walking, maybe one day it's a yoga class, maybe one day it is sitting in the sauna and just, you know, taking time for yourself because no one knows where you are.
Because I'm hiding.
Yeah, exactly.
But I like, Julie, how you say, like, you know, almost not trick them into doing it, but get them to do it. I have 4 kids and I breastfed all 4 of them, and I feel like I'm always fighting the round shoulderedness, okay, and forward head. All right. So whenever I get in my car, I don't know who told me this, push your head against the neck rest. So I push my head because it's, you know, you get the turkey chin. but it's great because it prevents the foot, it doesn't prevent forward head, but it helps me just to concentrate a little bit better on it. But I like stretching in the shower. I like walking through a door. I'm trying that. When I'm sitting at my desk, sometimes I'll cross my leg over so I can get a little bit of a piriformis stretch, pulling in, because I tend to, from being an ex-runner, my hips are just like shot. I'm waiting until I can get, Andrea, the 2 knee replacements. Speaking of which, are there special things you do post exercise to help with your recovery because you have the knee replacements? Because I've got a lot of I've got clients that have had a knee replacement.
Andrea's got 2, I got 1. So I want to hear Andrea's answer.
Well, I mean, for me personally, the knee replacement surgery was having both of them done. I had them both done at once, was like night and day. And I've been teaching all this time. And so I was teaching surfboard classes, and then I ruptured a disc in my back because I wasn't bending my knees because my knees hurt. And then finally I went in and was like, can you put something in these to make them feel better? They're like, you're that's way past it, lady. I personally do not have, knock on wood, knee pain. The only time I feel like my new knees are an issue is if I do a lot of kneeling. If I get on the floor and I'm playing with my grandchild for a couple hours on my knees, that's when I feel that it starts to stiffen up. And then I'm going through flex and point, extension, and I'm going through all those basic stretches that you think are so worthless because they still feel good to me. But like I said, for me, I don't have a special routine. I just know what I can and can't do. Like, I can't sit in child's pose like I used to. I still work on that flexibility through the joint, but there is a limitation. So I'm much happier now.
Yeah, that's a good thing. And Gail, what have you found that
I'm
helps
only,
you?
only a year out with the knee replacement. So Andrea, how out are you? How far out? 3 years. So in the morning when I wake up, you're sleeping for 6 hours, your knees stiffen up. Andrea, do you still have that? And please tell me you don't have it anymore.
I don't.
It's
And
gone,
I
right?
wasn't able to put on my underwear standing on one leg for a long time,
Right.
but I do that now too.
Right. So in the morning you wake up, now I'm a year. So in the morning I wake up, it's like, oh, I feel it. So I bend my knees like I'm running in the bed. I literally roll on my side and I pedal the bike in the bed. My husband's like, are you kicking the sheets off the bed? I'm like, no, I'm pedaling in the bed. Then I do bridges. Then I flip my feet around. It's okay, now I'm good to go. And I get up and I take off. But I have to do those stretches in the bed to get the fluids moving back in that kneecap because it's been laying there for 8 hours. So it's like, it's like, okay, where's the WD-40? Let me just spray
Yes.
those.
But everyone should be doing those things. I mean, my grandmother was 99 and I used to laugh because she was every morning as a kid, she was doing some type of movement, the bicycle, the bridges. And I think that's a good practice to get into, especially if you're starting to have clients that have any kind of arthritis. Encourage them for those day-to-day little things. Like you said, stretch in the shower, put your head back into good posture when you're driving. That's one of my favorite ones too, Sarah. And then there's when you're standing in line, work on those simple calf extensions and heel walks. They work great.
Julie, do you have any other suggestions on recovery exercises we can slip in?
Right. I think as well as recovery, I was just thinking about what Gail was saying about, getting moving in the morning. I don't know who said it. Movement is medicine. And a lot of my clients have had one joint replaced. So I find that their range of motion on the surgical, knee or hip is affected. So they need to spend not only more time warming up, but they also need to spend more time, working on the range of motion. Easy things that you can do. We forget about balance and stability. In your waiting in the grocery store in the checkout line, stand on one foot for 30 seconds and then switch to the other foot. We're working those proprioceptors. Anything that we can do whenever you have, a minute or 2 minutes, getting the body moving is going to help us, keep our joints healthy, anti-aging.
Yeah, absolutely. And what are, Julie, I'm going to stick with you. What are some common signs of overtraining and how can we adjust training regimes to prevent the burnout so that we encourage the recovery?
Oh, the oversigns of training, well, you can have psychological ones where it's like you wake up in the morning, it's like, I do not want to work out. When normally it's like, let's go. I can't get to the gym soon enough. It's the being sore all the time. It is seeing a decrease in performance. If you can squat 450 and then all of a sudden, you're squatting, 375, 390, and you see a downward decline in your overall performance, that right there. And then if you don't address that, you're going to end up with strains, with sprains, muscle aches and pains that weren't there before. So the biggest thing, listen to the body.
And rest.
And sleep and proper hydration, proper nutrition.
I knew we'd talk about sleep. I'm sure you've done a lot of reading on it. Any suggestions to us besides get it?
Develop a good sleep routine at night, whether it be taking 10 minutes, shut off electronics, shut off the TV. If you have that going in the background, your mind isn't going to shut down. So even taking, 5 minutes quiet time, or, finding that place during the day. My whole philosophy, everything you learned in kindergarten, you learn is, good for life. You took a 10-minute nap in kindergarten, right? There's nothing wrong with, taking 10 or 15 minutes in the middle of the afternoon just for yourself to, shut the mind down, deep breathing techniques, activate
what's
that.
Interesting is they say, who are they? But
Right.
I've read some articles that say, well, you can't supplement your sleep by just a 10-minute or a 20-minute nap. You need a full 7 or 8 hours. And I'm like, I feel so amazing after a 15-minute nap. I mean, like it's amazing to me. And
It is.
I think you can supplement that way.
Yeah, we're activating the parasympathetic nervous system, getting into rest and digest instead of being on, hyper overdrive all the time, which a lot of people are. You get up at, 5, 6 in the morning and you go till 10 o'clock at night without any mental breaks or physical breaks. That's going to lead to that overtraining, and then that leads to injury.
Interesting. And Gail, what do you do with the athletes? Do you talk to them about their sleep or their different choices at night?
We're a whole different ballgame, because if we're going to California, which is a time change, we have these lights that they put in their rooms. It's a white light, and they go to sleep with it. Apparently, you're supposed to take the jet lag out of their body. It's very fascinating. I don't believe the stuff, but I put it in my room. Next morning I wake up, I'm like refreshed. I have no idea what the white lights does. I'm still trying to figure out what it does, but every player has a white light in their room. They turn it on and they go to sleep and rejuvenates them. Apparently that's what it is. And when they're on flights, if we're flying and we're flying more than 6 hours, they have the whole plane shut down with these white lights on. It's the most fascinating thing.
White lights?
It's a white light, and it just flickers like, it's weird. It's almost like the Twilight Zone. Swear to God. And you look around like 20 minutes, 30 minutes after the flight takes off, and everybody's out. Like,
oh, that's fascinating. All right,
Carter,
if you can find that.
I'm still researching that one.
Oh my God. Yeah. Just,
and
where
it's
do
the
I
same
sign
thing
up?
they use, Julie, the same thing they use for concussion protocol. Same like they use for concussion protocol.
Yeah.
Concussion
All
protocol.
right, Gail, you have to find that and you throw it in the chat if you don't mind. And Andrea, do you talk to your clients about recovery and sleep, and does it tend to help them? Does it help you?
Well, yeah, and there's a lot of good research on the market now, or on the market out there about magnesium supplementation before you go to bed. And that's personally worked for me. Again, we talk about the infrared sauna, having them come in at night after a hard workout, and then leaving here and going home and going to bed. And I think, like that childhood routine, we still think about a warm bath goes a long way right before bed. Just settles your body, it settles your mind. And I talk about those things with my clients, with my classes, and getting enough rest is just You know, that's money in the bank.
That's great. I love this. All right, guys, I'm going to take the screen just for a second. I am going to show you, we're really excited. We've launched our Dallas Mania conference. So you can see that we have Dallas Mania coming up. It is going to be, we have a new save $100 on your registration if you use the discount code DAD, because Father's Day is on Sunday. So we have this for every Mania, for Midwest Mania, Dallas Mania, Boston, DC, wherever you got Florida, and use the discount code DAD and you'll save $100 on the Mania convention. So that's really exciting. Dallas is in August and we've got 20 CEUs. We've got over 150 sessions, 40 presenters, 14 certifications, great brochure, cute little video shows you what's going on. All these classes hitting us on Friday, on Saturday, and on Sunday. We have a wonderful business summit. So for those of you who own your own business or are looking to, it's a full session. I think it's, what is it? It's over 20 hours of education. And our pricing is really unmatched here. We are very cost effective for everyone in the market. So we want you to come to the Mania conferences. We're going to be doing Chicago, because a lot of us are from the Midwest. It's September 30th through October 2nd. It's coming to Chicago, and we'll be in Atlanta in July, and we'll be in Dallas in August. So I want to thank you guys for joining me. Thank you, Gail. Thank you, Julie. And thank you, Andrea. It was fantastic. And Carter, as always, you do an amazing job. Thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you next Thursday. All right. Take care, everybody. Have a good night.
Bye.